If you've ever tried to find genuinely useful cloud mining content, you probably already know how that goes. It's either someone going so deep into the technical side that most people lose the thread within the first 2 minutes, or it's just a platform that figured out how to get someone else to advertise it. There's very rarely anything in between that comes from actual hands-on experience. So now I'll show what this actually looks like when someone who knows what to look for sits down and runs through it properly. Platform I'm using has been part of my active setup for close to a year. So first thing I always go to is configuration. And I know it's not the most exciting part, but this step is important. The way a platform handles setup tells you more about how it was built than almost anything else. Rushed, unclear, poorly structured, that stuff shows up here first. So token selection is where it starts. It runs on a multi-chain protocol, which in plain terms just means no fixed network, no restrictions based on what the market is doing at any given moment. Going with Litecoin, it's been quietly putting up some solid numbers lately. The network is fast, transaction costs are low, and it's genuinely underrated as a mining pick right now. Okay, receiving address is next. We need to copy and paste LTC address. Standard step, nothing to slow down on. Okay, next we configure hash rate power. It controls how much raw computing capacity gets committed to the session. Think of it as drawing the upper boundary for what it can produce. Everything else gets built within that limit. Okay, then speed mode, and this is the one I always take a moment on. It adjusts the actual processing intensity on the remote hardware side, and higher intensity drives more efficient output, but it directly shifts the final numbers too. So it's not something to just push to the top without thinking. Take a beat, figure out what the session is actually supposed to deliver, and set it from there. Okay, target amount next. There are 4 different volume tiers to choose from here. The way I think about it's pretty simple. Lower tiers make sense when you're new to the platform or testing a fresh configuration for the first time. Less exposure, easier to track what's happening. Higher tiers are for when you've already run the platform enough times to know exactly how it behaves. Since I've been on this long enough to know what to expect, going with the higher end. Makes sense given where LTC is sitting right now. Okay, and now just a quick pass over everything before starting. Address, hash rate, speed, target. All correct. Press start, and the session is live. And now we just leave it running for a few minutes and watching the process. Load is ticking, time is moving, output is building, just letting it do its thing. Okay, time's out, report is up. Total session time, shares processed, active algorithm, and breakdown of the remote infrastructure charges. Everything is laid out clearly, nothing buried or vague in there. So now to withdraw LTC out, we have 2 options. Wallet Connect is available and would handle the transfer automatically, but personally, I always go manual. Walking through the transaction step by step just gives a more complete picture of what's happening. More control, more visibility over the whole thing. Okay, my transaction submitted, so now we need to wait a bit. So while that's processing, let me talk through what cloud mining is and why it makes sense as a model right now. So the thing I find interesting about this in 2026 is how much the conversation has changed. A few years ago, if you wanted to mine crypto, the assumption was you needed hardware. And that model works for some users, but it carries a lot of weight with it. You're tied to specific equipment, paying fixed power costs, and every time something goes wrong with the hardware, it's your problem to fix. Cloud mining removes that entire layer. The computation runs on remote infrastructure, the output comes straight to the address, and there's nothing in between that needs managing. And after months of consistent active testing on this platform, output tracked correctly every single time. Withdrawals processed without any friction, and nothing in the workflow felt off at any point. And this isn't a new platform either. It's been in the market long enough to have a track record, and when we line it up against what else is out there right now, that history is just visible. Most platforms I run through extended testing end up surfacing something at some point, some inconsistency, some friction, something that makes you question the build. This one just kept running. Anyway, if there's anything you want me to check, drop it in comments. Appreciate the time.